My biggest fear would be when the first comes and I don't get the rent.
I found that my tenant had dumped concrete down my toilet. Can you believe Fair Housing fined me $5,000 for that?
How do you onboard your tenants? What do you do?
I don't even know if I do it right.
If you're a landlord, don't just rent, rent perfect. The Rent Perfect podcast with property expert and private investigator, David Pickron.
Well, hello, Scott Aubrey with me today on the Rent Perfect podcast. Welcome. Hey, we're going to have a good show today.
I love it. I'm so excited to talk.
You know, you were just telling me a story before the podcast.
Yeah.
And let's just jump right into it. I mean, it's comical when Hollywood gets involved and thinks that they know how to do everything better than everybody else.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, obviously in this business, I monitor all the news feeds for things related to landlords and things like that. So this one popped up this week. Andy Richter, who's the sidekick for Conan O'Brien, if you don't know who he is, he's a funny guy, but he's trying to get his son an apartment. He's getting ready to go to college. So this is what he tweeted out. And I'm not a big Twitter guy, but this is good stuff. He says, "My son is looking for a studio apartment around USC, and one that he applied for a couple days ago told us that the owner wanted 6 months rent up front," and then in parentheses, "after he and I both paid application fees. No wonder people, expletive, hate landlords and the management companies that facilitate them." It almost took my breath away. This was so ridiculously written. But again, Hollywood.
He has been so out of touch with landlords losing thousands and tens of thousands of dollars.
Right. So then my favorite response from one of the Twitter people that was following him responded, says, "Wow, it's almost like there's been a policy in place for a year preventing landlords from evicting delinquent tenants, and so now they're protecting themselves by demanding the money up front so that they aren't financially ruined." Like, that's perfect. That's a perfect response. But then I really love what the Supreme Court says as they came out with the ending the eviction moratorium. And I think these are great examples. And they said, "Could the CDC, for example, mandate free grocery delivery to the homes of the sick or the vulnerable? Could they require manufacturers to provide free computers to enable people to work from home? Could they order telecom companies to provide free high-speed internet service to facilitate remote work?" I think for most of us, the answer to those are, heck no, they can't. Right?
Yeah.
So what gave them the right to do this
to
us as landlords?
Right. Come in the grocery store, take anything you want. It's all free.
Yep.
Head on out.
If you're sick, come on in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just don't see us as a business, and we're absolutely 100% a business. Our product is the roof over someone's head, and I think we offer as important service as the grocery store.
Yeah, and I feel bad that somebody thinks that landlords and management companies are out to get them.
Well, what makes me laugh is so that guy can't afford 6 months of rent.
Yeah, that guy could have just go buy the kid an apartment, for heaven's sakes.
I mean, I can see someone complaining about something, but him.
Yeah, and that was the backlash to him. Is like, and then he defended. Well, I understand that I'm wealthy, and that this shouldn't be a big deal to me, but it is.
Yeah, my son's going to USC.
Yeah,
who knows what I paid them to get him in the door, right?
Hey now.
So not a cheap school to go to, but hey, thank you for that. It's fun to. Actually, it's fun to say the eviction moratorium is over, first of all. But thanks for that. And we chuckle a lot about just people who just are clueless and don't understand how we feel.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about maybe a topic that some landlords don't like to do, and that is declining people. Not my favorite thing to do. I wish that every first person that ever applied at one of my properties was approved. But you can't be successful by just taking anybody.
Yeah. The first guy off the street may not be your best bet.
Yeah, and so I think as new landlords, sometimes we think, okay, it's a pain to, first of all, it hurts to get the phone call, "I'm leaving," unless they haven't paid rent in 10 months.
In 18 months, yeah.
And then it's a great phone call to get, but usually that's an eviction.
Right.
But it's hard to get the phone call, "I'm leaving," knowing that I have a turn now. And a turn is going to cost you $3,000-4,000, maybe some new paint, fixing a few things around the property, the landscape, different things like that. And, that's the money loser for landlords, our turns. That's where we kind of save up our money to reinvest in our property to get it ready for the next person. And then the next person comes by and he shows us a little bit of money, right, and a little bit of interest, and we say, oh, okay, I can put this all to bed, and I can put someone else in this property, and I can end this onboarding, boy, that would be nice. But if you don't do that right, in 3 months, you have the same turn. You have the same problem.
Deja vu all over
right.
again.
So unfortunately, if you're going to find that right renter who we say is worth $120,000 because they're going to stay there for 5 years, there are some other people that are going to get in your way that you're going to have to decline until you find that jackpot renter. You know, and the reality is this is all based on your property. $120,000 tenant for me at some of my properties might be a 700 FICO score, might be, you know, someone with zero criminal history, you know, or at another property in a part of town might be someone who hasn't had a misdemeanor in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And
a 550 credit
right.
score or whatever, right? Yeah.
And so we're really not going to get into criteria, but we do want to talk about how you can use your criteria to decline someone in a very nice way.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is Fair Housing says you should have a detailed criteria that says exactly what you expect from somebody. And then you run everybody through that criteria, okay? So whether it's criminal history, eviction history, credit, you know, anything like that that goes on your criteria, you do their background, you do their credit, you run them through, and they either qualify or they don't qualify based on your criteria. Mm-hmm. So if they don't qualify based on your criteria, you're not allowed to change that criteria. You're not supposed to. So why wouldn't you use that to your benefit? Hey, you seem like a great person, would love to have you, but Fair Housing tells me I can't deviate from my criteria,
Mm-hmm.
and unfortunately you didn't qualify, and I apologize. Here's an adverse action letter. Okay? So bad paper, bad criteria,
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a good guy.
Right.
Right? Instead of, if you don't have a criteria and you don't run someone through a criteria, the conversation goes like this. Hey, Scott, sorry, you were declined.
Why?
Well,
Do you not like my haircut?
It just didn't work out.
Because you don't like the car I drive.
No, I just, you know,
Is it because I have 5 kids?
It's just, you know, I
you know,
like
this is totally
but
unfair. I don't even know why you're doing this. Like, we
Exactly.
qualify.
Exactly. And sometimes it ends in an expletive.
Yeah.
And a very bad, you know, sometimes, you know, maybe the house might get egged or,
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what people.
It's expensive to get those tire marks as it peels out of your driveway off. It's probably more expensive.
So it's so much easier to have a good detailed criteria and then really just lean on it. You know, when we first started doing criteria years ago, honestly, I was like, why should I even have to write any of this down? I should be able to put who I want, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've put this into my processes many, many years ago, I realized this is all for the better. This actually protects me, and this actually almost becomes my checkpoint where this checks me and my decision. So if I start like really liking someone, but they don't pass this kind of like slaps me back in the face and says, you're looking for the $120,000, you know, tenant. This might not be the one.
This helps you stay the course, right?
This helps you stay the course. Yeah. I say, good guy, me, bad paper criteria, but that can be my best friend.
So a question for you as a landlord, what would you advise our landlord listeners out there? When would I give this? Would I share this with my tenant? If I do share it with my potential tenant or applicant, when would I share it with them? Yeah,
so I will have many of the things in my criteria on my online rental portfolio, right? Okay. And so whether it's Zillow or Trulia or whatever it is,
so the listing might contain some of
the
these
listing
things.
will contain some of this.
Okay.
When I show them the property in person, I also would hand them a copy of this. Okay. Or when they say I want to apply, Rent Perfect sends them a digital copy of this at their email invite. What that does is it puts us on the same page saying, hey, these are the rules. Mm-hmm. This is the criteria. If you read this and you say, I don't think I can pass this, don't even waste our time. But if you look at it and say, oh, no, there's no problems here, I'm going to go ahead and apply, we're on the same page on what I'm looking for. If I come back and you did not qualify under one of these things, I have to think you either lied to me or you thought I wouldn't find it, you know, and you took a chance. So I have no problem saying, hey, sorry, you didn't qualify. I let you know up front many, many times that this is what I'm looking for.
And I know that scenario happens all the time
Right.
where somebody thinks they're going to squeeze one past you, but then
Right.
screening-wise, you're like, oh, hey, I found
Right.
out that X, Y, Z, you're not going to
Right.
qualify.
So if you give this to me up front
Mhm.
and I don't pass it, there's nothing more to say for me other than, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Not, you're a jerk, you're a this, that, listen, I took a chance, I didn't pass, and I moved down the road.
Yeah.
So very important to have a detailed criteria, but then know how to use it and then lean on it. Really lean on it when you need it.
Yeah.
You know?
Bad paper again. Bad paper, good guy. Bad paper, good guy.
Good guy.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have sample copies of detailed criteria. This isn't really a podcast about the specific what you should have in your criteria. But if you're thinking, David, detailed criteria, send me one. You can send that request to info@rentperfect.com, and we'll send you a sample criteria. Remember that criterias are really focused on your property. You could have 5 different criterias for 5 different properties.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what is your criteria. It doesn't follow you. It follows your property. Because if you don't get your criteria right, you're moving in everyone. Or if it's too high, you're not getting anybody who qualifies. So it really is a breathing piece of paper that you need to adjust and fine-tune to each property. We have that as a sample.
Maybe we could put a link to that in the description as well below the video.
That's a great idea. Appreciate that. We'll have to. You think we know someone who can do that for us?
I got a guy.
I got a guy.
I got a guy.
Okay, so if you're going to rent from me now, you have to pay all of it up front for a 5-year lease.
That's right. I want 60 months plus the cleaning fee deposit.
Go ahead and purchase the house cash, and then I'll own it.
It's a new way to reverse mortgage it. See.
Well, appreciate it, Scott. Thanks for being here. Thanks for talking about how we can use our detailed criteria to our benefit when we have to have those uneasy times or those unpleasant moments of saying, I'm sorry you didn't qualify. Yep. And we appreciate you being here today. And until next time, continue to rent perfect.